Hey, thanks for tuning in. I've been waiting to do this video review for a very long time. My name is Chris with the Headlight Revolution, and today we're going to do an epic battle between the Rigid Industries Dually and 3 different Vision X lighting products. The reason that we're doing this review and comparison is to really get a good idea of the two what we consider to be the big dogs in the LED off-road lighting industry. You've got Rigid Industries, one of the world's favorite LED lighting brands, and you've got Vision X, known as the world's brightest. And so what we're going to do is go over each one of these products individually and then do a side-by-side comparison. First we're going to do the Rigid Dually versus the Vision X Single Optimus, then the Rigid Dually versus the Vision X Dual Optimus, and lastly the Dually versus the Vision X Light Cannon, which is brand new this year. First we're going to go over each one of these products individually. We're going to start with the Rigid Industries Dually, just because this is one that everybody's most familiar with. Now, we're not going to talk a whole lot about the construction and what they're made out of, because they're all pretty similar in terms of what they're built out of and the construction. They're all very high quality. They all use aluminum construction with stainless steel or aluminum hardware and bracketry. The only thing that I don't really like about the Rigid Dually is the way that the cable comes out the back. Kind of looks sort of cheesy, like maybe they cut a corner there. I mean, as long as it seals, it doesn't really matter, but I'm much more impressed with the Vision X products, how the cabling enters the back of the housing. It also looks like it has a moisture vent next to the cable output, which none of the Vision X stuff has. You can see on the sides here, this is where the mounting bracket connects, and then these 3 screws on each side, all 6 of them come off, and you can use this in different flush mounting applications like fog lights or bumper lights or whatever you need to have for extra light. Some statistics on this Rigid Industries Dually. It's part number Dually-SP. That's DUALLY-SP. The beam pattern on this one is a 10-degree spot. It uses a polycarbonate lens and 4 LEDs totaling 15 watts. The amp draw on this particular light is 1.45, and they have an advertised lumen output of 1,300. The beam distance is advertised as approximately 1,200 feet, 50,000 hour lifespan, IP68 waterproof rating, and it sells for $109.99. Next, we're going to talk about the Vision X Optimus Single. Now, this is a kind of a cool light. This is pretty new. It's a lot different than what Vision X normally makes. You can see it's got a very robust bracket attached to the side with really nice stainless steel hardware. The way that the cabling comes out the back looks very secure. Doesn't look like you could ever damage it, and it has a dimming capability, which Rigid does not have. So you could run these at 50% power if you wanted to. All weatherproof connectors, just like the Rigid. But the difference is the Optimus lights from Vision X use what they call the proprietary iris reflector technology. So that's the name that they've come up with for their reflector and the optics over the LED. It's the iris. And this is the idea that they had to make it shine really, really far with just one LED. So again, stainless steel and aluminum construction. It's very, very nice. The Optimus Single, part number XIL-OP110, comes in a square or round version. This one is also 10-degree spot beam pattern with a polycarbonate lens. One single 10-watt LED with an amp draw of 0.83. Outputs 900 lumens with a beam distance of 690 feet. 50,000 hour lifespan, IP68 waterproof rating, and sells for $129. Next, we're going to talk about the Optimus Dual, and this one actually came out before the Optimus Single. This was kind of a big release for Vision X in the last 12 months or so. Identical construction, but 2 LEDs with 2 reflectors instead of the single over there. As you can see, big adjustable bracket. I actually love how this bracket works because it's extremely adjustable. Great big stainless steel bolt to hold it all in place. And again, a waterproof connector on the back. Everything says Vision X. It's really, really nice. The Optimus Dual Part number is XIL-OP210. Again, 10-degree spot beam pattern with a polycarbonate lens. This uses two 10-watt LEDs for a total wattage of 20 watts. Amp draw is 1.67. Lumens is 1,800. And the beam distance is advertised at 972 feet of usable light. 50,000 hour lifespan, IP68 waterproof rating, and it sells for $229. For the fourth light that we're going to compare today, we're looking at the brand new Vision X light cannon. This thing is unbelievable, and I have a feeling that it's going to blow everything else out of the water, but it should, because it's quite a bit more expensive. So this is the newest from Vision X, a single 25 watt LED inside this gigantic housing, and it's supposed to put 1,000 feet of usable light on the ground. Now I'm really interested to see how these actually work in the field, because the dually says that it'll go about 1,200 feet, where this one they claim 1,000 feet usable light. So I'm kind of wondering what is actual data and what is marketing hype from Vision X versus rigid. So especially like the single Optimus, where they say it's going to go almost 700 feet versus the rigid, which is advertising 1,200 feet, and which one's actually going to compare better in real world scenarios. So the light cannon is just wild. You can see it's pretty large compared to the Optimus single, and much larger again than the rigid dually. It's a 4-inch light, and it's got this really wild big footed bracket with this great big stainless bolt. And the thing that I like about the way this works, the mounting mechanism, is if you look at where the top of the bolt sits, it actually sinks down into the bracket, and it makes it really easy to install, because you don't have to worry about the bolt slipping. You don't have to figure out how to get a wrench in there. So you just use the bracket to hold it in place and tighten it down and put it where you want, and then your other stainless bolt does your adjustments that way. Vision X on the back, the same type of cable output as our Optimus series. And if you can see inside the housing, you see what they call big chip technology. This is an American-made LED chip, and it's pretty wild. I don't think I've ever seen an LED chip this big in an off-road light before. 25 watt light cannon from Vision X, part number CTL-CPZ110. Beam pattern, 10 degree, polycarbonate lens, one 25 watt LED. The amp draw is 2.08, outputs 2,500 lumens. Beam distance is approximately 1,100 feet with an advertised 1,000 feet of usable light. 50,000 hour lifespan, IP68 waterproof rating, and again sells for $229. So here I got my little portable battery pack from Vision X, and I split it off so that we could show 2 lights at a time. So the way I'm going to do this is just hook up the rigid dually and one of the Vision X lights and just shine them at the wall, and we're going to shine them out in the field and give you a good idea. Now I'm going to do my best to be unbiased, because to tell you the truth, I'm a Vision X fan. We're a Vision X dealer. We have been for a long time, and I really want to show you guys the difference in products, regardless if it makes one product look better than the other. I just want you to know the truth. So that's the way we're going to do this test. The first comparison is the Rigid Industries dually on the left against the Vision X single Optimus on the right. The first thing I notice is the color is pretty different. I was surprised to see this contrast, because normally I thought that the Vision X stuff would be a little bit more violet or blue, but it actually looks to be more like a yellowish color from here. The rigid dually on the left looks like a pure white, like maybe a 6000K, whereas the Vision X light looks a little bit warmer, probably does a little bit better in bad weather. But the other notable difference here is look at the flood beam pattern of the rigid light on the left compared to the tight pencil beam type of spotlight pattern that the Vision X product has on the right. Also, the rigid dually on the left has a lot more light bleeding from the center. So here's just the rigid dually. You can see it has a lot of flood emanating from around the hot spot in the middle. Here's the Vision X Optimus single. There's really not a whole lot of bleeding coming from the centerpiece, but it's very, very good for a pencil beam. So here's the first comparison. We've got the Rigid Industries dually on the bottom and the Vision X Optimus 10 watt single on the top. The first thing that I noticed when looking at these pictures is the Rigid Industries has a much whiter color than the Vision X. So if you like the cool white color, Rigid has a nice color, but if you want something that's probably going to do a little bit better in inclement weather like fog or rain, then the Vision X color is more desirable. But the Rigid product definitely puts out a lot more light. It's hard to tell if they go as far, as one another, because our test field only goes to 100 yards, and both of these products are advertised to go well beyond that. So you can see the trees beyond the 100-yard sign. You can kind of get a different idea of the intensity of the light output. The Rigid dually is definitely brighter than the Vision X Optimus single. Now we have the Rigid dually again on the left, and now the Vision X Optimus Dual on the right. 20 watts versus 15 watts. Now the Vision X Optimus Dual has a much larger beam pattern than the Optimus Single. That's to be expected, but it's still extremely tight and focused. So I really guess it just depends on what are you looking for. Do you want something with some flood, like this Rigid dually? Or do you want something that's only going to light up a very small area? It's going to probably go down, just looking at it from here, knowing the wattages, it seems like the Optimus Dual would go down the road further, because the Rigid dually has actually quite a bit of flood to it. Again, big color difference. Vision X looks much more yellowish white, more warm compared to the dually. So on this comparison, we've got again the Rigid Industries dually on the bottom, and now the Vision X Optimus Dual light on the top. Now this one actually surprised me, because when we were inside doing the testing, shining it on the garage door, I really thought that the Rigid Industries had more of a light output, but now getting into the field with these aimed at exactly the same spot, you can see that the Vision X product actually blows the Rigid Industries light out of the water. Also, the Vision X light is more of a natural whitish yellow color, whereas the Rigid, again, you can see the contrast very stark. It's more of a cool white. So like I said, this is very surprising. The Vision X Optimus Dual is twice the money, but you can see it looks like practically twice the output. The beam pattern on the Optimus Dual is much larger, and it looks like it goes much further. The thing that I was skeptical about with the Rigid dually was that they advertised something like 1,200 feet of light output, and I didn't really buy it. This is showing 300 feet, and it barely illuminates the trees, where the Vision X product clearly goes past the 100-yard mark. Finally, the light cannon from Vision X, the all-new single 25-watt LED light cannon versus the Rigid Industries dually. Here you can see a very, very different beam pattern when comparing to the previous Optimus lights. It uses a square LED chip, a very large square LED chip, so the beam pattern actually reflects that. You can see 4 different angles of the square LED chip, and it kind of creates a star-like pattern. It's kind of strange, but it's extremely large, which is one of the things that I love about the light cannon. Look at the flood. Here, I'm trying to show you the outside edge of the light pattern versus the inside. It has this humongous flood to it. It's absolutely massive. Here, actually, I'm going to run up to the wall and show you what it looks like. This is an insane amount of light for this one little 4-inch LED light. Now, if you compare that with the Rigid Industries dually, it has a much smaller footprint. Yeah, the light cannon is more expensive. What are you looking for? So here now is the Rigid Industries dually on the bottom and the Vision X 25 watt LED light cannon on the top. We didn't really expect this to be much of a fair fight, and you can see why. The light cannon puts out way more light than the dually. Of course, it's way more expensive, so it's understandable. We just wanted to show a few different options as far as similar products to the Rigid dually. The Vision X light cannon is brighter than any of the other Vision X lights we tested, and you can see that it obviously goes much further. Now you might think by looking at these pictures that we have them aimed differently, and that's absolutely not the case. We had all 4 lights aimed so that the center, the hottest part of the light output, was centered on our 100-yard sign. The Rigid dually just isn't any match for the Vision X light cannon. The light cannon output is brighter, it's wider, and it goes further down the road. Well, in conclusion to all these comparisons, it was a lot of fun, and the winner is obviously the Vision X light cannon. It's brighter than anything else that we tested, but it's not exactly in the same league. I mean, it's the same price as the Vision X Optimus Dual, but it's a totally different type of light. 4-inch round, you know, basically like a bumper mounted light for a truck or a Jeep, where the other ones are more like fog lights that you could put on anything. To talk about the Rigid Industries dually, we think it's better than the Vision X Optimus single light, but it's not as good as the Optimus Dual, and it's not as good as the Vision X light cannon. So for the money, it's hard to beat the Rigid Industries light, and especially if you like the color and the flood pattern, the dually is a very nice light. Rigid did a really good job with that one. However, if you're looking for something that's going to go down the road the furthest, or simply have the most light output, hands down, Vision X beats it. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to our channel if you want to see the next comparison or demo video we do. And if you see anything you like, visit us online at www.headlightrevolution.com.